This is one of the modules, one of many modules on the space station. This is the Kibo, which is Japanese for hope. It's the Japanese pressurized module. This area that you're seeing right here around me and extending about at least another 12 meters or 13 meters behind me. If I could turn that camera around and float it over to a window, I could show you the exposed facility, which is this spectacular location where we've got an airlock here, and we can place scientific samples using a robotic arm out into the vacuum of space. There's a number of payloads out there right now that are doing science, studying the sun, studying deep sky objects. We've got materials payloads out there as well. In the JPM, there are many, many racks that are here that do everything from cell biology. There's one behind me to the right in your camera view. We've got a gradient heating furnace. We actually have a crop of cucumbers that's being studied over here, and it's a special biology experiment that also gives us in that facility the capability of centrifugally accelerating and studying, in this case, gravitropism, or the response to plants in the presence of a simulated gravity environment through the spinning of the centrifuge. And there's an experiment back towards the left of your view, very deep in this field of view, which allows you to acoustically levitate materials to actually process, through processing of materials absent the gravity-induced convection you have on planet Earth. And you can do those. That experiment actually is still got some work to go to get it running, but that's one of many facilities that are in here. There's a number of racks, one of, I think, a total of 8, that allow you to, in a modular fashion, install small payloads that will basically accept power from the space station, be thermally controlled and regulated, exchange data and telemetry, commanding, and so forth through the space station assets, allow payload developers on the ground to work those. And we've got, like I say, a number of those racks scattered throughout the entire U.S. segment on space station. What I'd like to do, I think, is try to give you a little bit of a virtual tour, albeit using some of the fixed cameras that we have on space station, and show you some of the other modules. We don't have a lot of time, and I can't show you into the Russian segment. I can talk a little bit about the science that's going on there, but unfortunately the video system that we have set up for today doesn't allow me to go far enough aft to show you the equipment there. But if you're ready, I'll go ahead and take you over to the European experiment module, the European module Columbus. Okay, so this is the Columbus European module. We do a lot of life sciences experiments here, and there's also some fluid physics experiments. There's a laboratory directly above my head and up in your field of view, which is a fluid science laboratory, and in there we essentially have an Earth simulator, and it basically represents the Earth's core and the mantle, and allows you to do experiments in a simulated environment to better understand the internal workings of planet Earth from a geologic standpoint. We've got a number of cell biology type experiments here. We've got the capability to do culturing of cells, and also to centrifugally accelerate those. This bio laboratory that's off to my left, you're right in the field of view. We do a lot of our experiments on station directed towards understanding how to keep humans healthy and safe in space long enough to go beyond low Earth orbit. And a lot of those involve studying in a semi-non-invasive way how our bodies change. So we are both experimenters and subjects on a lot of that science. So a big contribution towards that are what we call the Human Research Facility racks, and we've got 2 of those in here. And one of the experiments that we do, actually a number of them, use a specific piece of equipment in there, an ultrasonic, an ultrasound equipment basically, and we all get training pre-flight, and we all learn how to be pretty decent ultrasound technicians, and we're essentially doing studies, albeit under the guidance of some very smart, intelligent folks on the ground, to understand how the heart muscle changes, for example, in the weightless environment of space. There's not a lot of force, the force of gravity that we have to interact with all the time, and your body is just as strong as it needs to be for the environment it's in. So there is some atrophy and some changes that occur in the heart muscle. There's also some changes that occur in the entire vascular system. And so with the ultrasound, we can study the heart muscle. We can do it immediately following exercise. We can do it in a resting state. We can study how blood vessels change, how the volume, the area essentially for the blood vessels, how those will change and adapt over the period of time you have here on orbit. And it helps scientists better understand, again, how to mitigate some of the detrimental issues that you'd have due to the weightlessness of space. We have a body mass measurement piece of equipment over there that's also in that same rack, and it's kind of a unique problem trying to measure somebody's mass in a weightless environment. So we don't have any weight, but we still, of course, retain mass, and there's two different ways to do it. One is to do it the way a piece of equipment in the Russian segment works, and that is to accelerate and oscillate the mass, whether it's ourselves or our experimental hardware. And basically, the lighter something is, the higher the frequency of the oscillations will be, given a fixed spring constant. So that's one way we do it. We also have another way, just using F equals ma, and we essentially apply a fixed force, and we look at the time it takes to accelerate, or time it takes to cover a specific distance, and integrate that to get the acceleration, and we can find what the mass is that way. So we have another piece of equipment here off to your left, which is called MARES, and that is specifically designed to understand how much force, how much output our muscles can generate here in space. It's still in the checkout phase right now, and it's very big and very impressive. And let's see, there's a number of other kinds of facilities here that allow us to do blood work and to analyze samples of blood and urine, and help understand the biochemistry changes that occur due to weightlessness and being in the space environment for half a year. Okay, and this is the U.S. laboratory, Destiny, that I'm in right now, and it is full of all different kinds of equipment to do everything from combustion experiments, which we do in this combustion integrated rack, to fluid physics, which we do in this rack over here. We've got a microgravity science glove box here, which allows you to have experiments or materials that might be a little bit hazardous, and to basically operate and interact with those experiments isolated from the habitable volume of the space station. Off to your right in this in your view right now, and I'll see if I can give you, well, I'll just hand it off here a little bit to the right. Just to your right, I can't get all the way around to it, but Robonaut, which is a technology demonstration piece of hardware, and it's a humanoid dexterous robot that allows us essentially to understand how to create robotic equipment to assist and operate with the crew on board Space Station. And so Robonaut's going through some checkouts right now. It's a phenomenally capable robot with something on the order of 40 or so degrees of freedom. So it's got a hand that operates just like our hands do, and it's got it's got a broad wingspan. From a human standpoint, but basically it's designed to interact with all the things that we interact with. And actually, last month, Robonaut was here where I'm standing, taking airflow measurements from our ventilation system right nearby, with one hand holding the probe near the ventilation ducts, and another hand holding the instrument, and with his eyes, if you will, which are cameras that are located just where human eyes would be, reading the display and operating that piece of equipment. Down the road, I think the goal would be to have that kind of technology to be able to take outside with you when you do spacewalks, for example. And all the tools we would use outside during EVAs or extravehicular activities, Robonaut would be able to operate as well. So great technology there. We've got lots of equipment to keep us healthy and safe. One of our key pieces of equipment to exercise is a vibration-isolated bicycle, essentially. And it's an ergometer, and it's isolated from the structure of Space Station, so as you pedal it, you're not putting vibrations into the structure that would disturb microgravity-sensitive kinds of payloads, like material science payloads. And we similarly do a vibration isolation through vibration isolation, have a treadmill that will allow you to run as fast as 12 or more than 12 miles an hour, and essentially keep all of the vibration of the impacts of your feet, your footfalls on the tread, isolated from the structure as well. And it's critical for us to be exercising like this on the order of two or so hours a day, to keep from getting too deconditioned to be able to safely return home.
Hey, Captain Burbank, really, again, on behalf of the crew here at Air Station Houston, appreciate you taking the time to give us the tour, give us an opportunity to understand kind of what it is you all do up there. Add that into what we did earlier today. Getting to see the mock-up gave us a really great. I don't think as you watch on TV or any other thing, when you get to see the mock-up, you really get an idea of the size, the actual size of the space station up there. I think a lot bigger than a lot of us had originally thought. And to me, one of the most amazing parts is as we watch the moving map here talking to you, realizing that the distance you've covered over the short time we've been speaking, you made it from about the midway Southern Pacific to halfway between South America and Africa is really kind of an amazing thing to think about as well.
Great to have you on board today, and it's real hard to tell you in such a short period of time just what a spectacular place this is, but you certainly got a sense for it in the mock-ups, and the little bit that I was able to show you today hopefully showed you, told you a little bit more of the story, but it's a phenomenal place, and it is hard for me to believe right now that there are just a very few weeks left before I'll return. The best part, of course, is to get to see family and friends again. That's one thing you don't do nearly enough of during the training leading up to this, and certainly you feel very remote sometimes from family while you're up here, but there'll be a lot of time to catch you up very shortly for me. But there's always going to be a part of me that's going to very much miss this environment, miss working with these wonderful teams on the ground, miss doing the science that we do up here. But we'll be handing the baton off to some incredibly capable people down the road too. So all the best to you. It was great having you on board, and hope to talk to you when I get back in a couple of weeks.